Somewhere in Pakistan tonight, a young mind is making a decision that seems small and almost invisible. Yet, history has always been shaped by invisible decisions. A student decides to study one more hour. Another chooses to learn a skill instead of complaining. Someone else chooses discipline instead of distraction. These moments rarely make headlines. Yet, they quietly shape the future of nations. Because the truth is simple. The future of Pakistan is not being written only in parliament halls or political debates. It is being written in the daily habits, attitudes, and decisions of its youth. But here is the real question. Do most young people realize this power, or have many already surrendered it without even noticing? Across Pakistan, millions of young people wake up with uncertainty. They scroll through discouraging news, headlines about inflation, unemployment, corruption, and broken systems, and slowly the weight of these stories begins to affect their mindset. The future starts to feel unclear, and many young people quietly ask the same question: does my effort even matter? Some slowly lose belief, some stop dreaming, and others fall into endless distractions where hours disappear into scrolling, gaming, and temporary escapes. Comfort becomes a silent trap, and this is where potential begins to fade, because comfort slowly kills potential. Not overnight, but slowly, quietly, without warning. Many young people believe nations rise only because of strong systems, better policies, more resources, or perfect opportunities. Yet history repeatedly shows something deeper. The rise of nations begins inside the mindset of their youth. It begins when young people stop waiting and start building. It begins when responsibility replaces excuses, because excuses weaken nations while responsibility builds them. Look at the story of Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he sat inside a prison cell. 27 years of isolation, struggle, and uncertainty. Most people would surrender hope under such conditions. Most people would accept defeat, but Mandela used prison as preparation. He trained his mind, strengthened his vision, protected his belief, and when he finally walked out of prison, he walked out as the leader who helped transform a nation. His environment tried to break him, but his mindset refused to break, and that is the power of disciplined thinking. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable. What happens when millions of young people lose discipline? When distraction becomes the national habit? When blaming the system becomes easier than improving ourselves? The answer is dangerous, because a nation cannot rise if its youth remain mentally asleep. But here is the deeper truth. Youth is not just an age. Youth is energy, creativity, courage, and possibility. Pakistan holds one of the youngest populations in the world, which means this country holds millions of young minds, millions of potential innovators, future leaders, and problem solvers. The real question is not whether Pakistan has potential. The real question is whether its youth will activate it. Imagine a young Pakistani sitting alone at midnight. The room is quiet. The phone screen glows in the dark. Another discouraging headline appears. Another negative discussion online. Another reminder of problems. And slowly a dangerous belief forms. Nothing will change. But what if that belief itself is the real enemy? Because every great transformation begins with belief. Belief that effort matters. Belief that growth is possible. Belief that discipline compounds over time. Without belief, action dies. And without action, nations stagnate. Innovators like Elon Musk faced years of doubt before rockets landed vertically and electric vehicles became mainstream. Yet progress belongs to those who persist when others hesitate. Now imagine something powerful. Imagine millions of Pakistani youth waking up with a different mindset, not waiting for perfect conditions, not blaming circumstances, but building daily discipline, learning valuable skills, strengthening their minds, and improving their character. Because real transformation begins inside individuals, not institutions. When one young person becomes disciplined, a life changes. When thousands become disciplined, communities change. When millions rise with discipline, nations change. Great nations rise when their youth rise. But discipline is not comfortable. Discipline means waking early when others sleep, learning when others complain, practicing when others quit, choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. Anyone can talk about change, but only a few commit to the habits that create it. Think about the next 10 years of Pakistan. 10 years is not a long time, yet it is enough to transform a generation. Enough time to build industries, create innovation, and redefine national identity. But only if the youth decide to lead the change today rather than tomorrow. Because the future does not suddenly appear. It is built daily in quiet rooms, on late nights, through consistent effort nobody applauds. So here is the final question. When future generations look back at this moment in Pakistan's history, what will they say about this generation? Will they say the youth surrendered to frustration? Or will they say this was the generation that refused to stay passive, the generation that chose discipline over distraction, responsibility over excuses, and vision over fear? In the end, the future of Pakistan will not be decided only by speeches or promises. It will be decided by millions of individual choices made by students, freelancers, entrepreneurs, young professionals, dreamers, builders, and leaders in the making. Pakistan's future is not waiting somewhere ahead. It is already forming inside the mindset, discipline, and courage of its youth. Which means the real question every young person must ask today is simple yet powerful. What kind of future are you building today for Pakistan?